Alright, so our next tutorial in the line of skin tones is going to be how I paint my orc skin tone. And I have a couple various levels that I do this at. I'm going to show you just the quickest method, which I use for things like boyz, grots sometimes, anything that I need to kind of do fairly quickly. And so it's essentially 3 steps, 3 main steps, and then one kind of optional 4th step that'll show. So we have the model primed black. This is an old orc boy. I know he's on the wrong base. We're working on that. So he's primed black, and then I'm going to start with raw flesh as the base. So you want to make sure you get a really good layer of this down, because this is going to be the majority of our color. Afterwards, we pretty much only just do a selective highlight if you want to do it the really basic way. So you may need to do 2 or 3 coats of this just to make sure it's really solid and green. Okay, so our orc boy is dry. So the next step is to do a shade wash. I do Beal Tan Green. I do a pretty heavy wash of this. It can be pretty heavy with this. You just want to get it all over the skin, and this will stain it a darker green and go in the cracks and make the cracks even darker than that. So especially for the face, you want to get in there. Back of his neck, his ears. I just go over the teeth because I paint those at the end. As you can see, it gets pretty dark. It's pretty dark green. I like this tone better than this sort of more like avocado green that Games Workshop tends to do, but you can always work with whatever you like. This is a little bit more of like a dark green, and then sort of becomes a little more pale or opaque looking than yellow. So we just let that wash seep in there, take about 20 minutes to dry, and then we will come back and do our highlights. So now our orc boy is dry. So we're going to do our first skin highlight, which is going to be a mix of raw flesh and warboss green in about a 1-to-1. You can kind of change the ratios depending on what you like. If you want a little bit more of the grayish green, darker color, do this. This is a little bit brighter, but you can mix to your desire. So this color, you can see, is just slightly lighter, and we're gonna just go and put it on all the big major muscle areas to really just highlight and exaggerate the muscle shapes. You're gonna repaint, or you're gonna paint this over most of what we've already painted, but just leave the dark areas in the shadows this darker green, the darker green that we did before. And you may need to do two coats of this because it can be a little bit thin and streaky sometimes. Just take your time, go around, find all those muscle groups. Same with the face. The face, you pretty much want to get all the major areas, all the flat areas. The jawline, the cheekbones, the chin, top of the head, the eyebrows. Because we're going to come in with our final highlight to pop out some of the features. So we're just gonna let him dry, and then we will do our final highlight. Alright, so our orc boy is dry, so we're gonna do a final highlight. Now, you could stop here if you really want to. This is acceptable for just, tabletop quality. I'm gonna do one extra step just to sort of make him pop a little bit more, but you don't have to. So for this step, I'm gonna use Nurgling Green. And you can use straight up Nurgling Green, or you can mix this with a little bit of the paint we did in our previous highlight. And we're gonna just, as with all the other skin tone tutorials, we're just gonna put this on the highest sort of points. So like the knuckles, on the fingers, and this is a little bit exaggerated. That's just kind of how my style is with these guys. You can blend this a little bit more if you want to put a little bit more of the previous color in it. It will be less of a contrast, but for the face, you just want to get the edges that are sort of the sharp edges. So like the cheekbones, the tops of the ears, the jawline, and anywhere that's sort of on the other side of a crease. So if you can see in his jaw there, he's got his lips sort of, and then a crease, and then his cheekbone. So you want to get the cheekbone and the cheek there. Then on his head, get the eyebrows, get the nose and the nostril. For the top of the head, you can kind of just pick out some areas there. And the neck, if you really want, you can also do a little bit there. That just brings out a little bit with the details. And I think with orcs you can be a little bit more exaggerated and a little bit more cartoony looking, and it works fine. The high contrast like this. If you want a little bit more of a realistic look, that's not really my style, but you can blend this a little bit more. But there we go. That's our highlighted orc. So you can see up close, it's pretty harsh, the contrast. But from far away on the tabletop, you have 30 of these guys all together. They'll all pop out and look exaggerated, but they'll stand out on the table. And so this is a pretty quick way to get decent results on a lot of guys fast. So there we go.